Hello teachers, we're grateful that you've taken the time to watch today's teaching video about how we can become better and better teachers of the Bible. We hope that the first two have been helpful and you've been able to apply something in each of the lessons into how you teach now. Today we're going to look at how you can help students apply what you teach. We believe that the best kind of application is called self-guided application. This is because when students apply the truths themselves and they come up with the application themselves, they have taken ownership of the information. They believe it's applicable to them and they'll do what it takes to find a way to apply the truth that you've taught them. We all know that we've sat in some sermons, some Bible studies, and you're given an application, but just because of the stage of life that you're in, it's useless to you. Now we know that the Bible is in no sense useless. Every page of the Bible is useful. We're told by Paul in 2 Timothy it's useful for all kinds of things, from correction to rebuke to building up to conviction of sin to comfort in grace. So we know that every word of the Bible has an application. The difficulty is getting there. So self-guided application helps everyone walk away from every Bible lesson with an application. So in today's lesson, we're going to help you see how you can help students apply the information in the lesson. The purpose of application is to simply make truth usable. Theology is all about practical living. If what you know about God does not lead to greater obedience, then you've not applied it yet. So we want to get into the experience, into the life of the learner. So there are two things that we believe that make application effective. So what makes application effective? First, truth must be related to the individual's life. That means that you can start with a general application of the text you're teaching, but generalities are generally useless. Until you get down to the individual, there's not much to actually apply. So you always start generally and then move to more specific applications. And you help the people see that there are some general ways to think about this lesson, but in order for it to be meaningful, it has to be meaningful to you and where you are and how the Lord is providentially working in your life. So what does this mean for you? Second, you have to explore a bunch of relevant areas. And we learn from that by learning from each other. So this is where discussion comes in to be very important, because we learn about ourselves best from others. People have a way of seeing us in ways that we can't. So think of how your spouse probably knows you better than anyone else in the world, because they get to see you from a different perspective than even you see yourself. So this requires some class participation. So you want to be non-threatening, but you want to have as many as possible seek to find ways to apply the biblical truth, and here's the key, during class. Because we all know that if the homework is to find an application for the text, it's probably not going to happen. So we have to move from general to specific, and we want to do that during the class by learning from others about ourselves. So what are some steps that we can use to get to self-guided application? Well, first, we have to get general. You have to generalize about the main principle or the idea of the text. If you don't get this, then there's nowhere else you can go. So your job as the teacher is to condense whatever lesson you're teaching into a general main idea. That's always your starting point. And then you'll see that, well, this main idea has some implications. So here, you might use some open-ended stories. You might ask some thought-provoking questions, or just talk about any number of ways to help your students see that what is true has to have some kind of bearing on everyday life, even if you don't know what it means for you yet. thirdly, you're going to move from generalization to implication to personal application. So here is where you get into a lot of maybe small group discussion. You want to prompt students to think of ways that the principle or the main idea affects them personally. And if this is appropriate, then ask for examples. And this will be different in various stages of life. So you're going to get very different answers in a kindergarten class, from a senior adult class, from a teenage class, to a new parent class. And that's good, because the Bible does not change its meaning, but it changes its significance depending on what stage of life you're in, how mature of a Christian you are. So meaning never changes, but significance might change. Lastly, you want to leave your students with a decisive application. You want to leave your class with a compelling reason to reflect on God's Word throughout the week, or at least until the next class meeting. So you want to give your students a general idea of why this text matters. You want to have an implication so they see that this matters in everyday life. And then you want to move from this is generally important to why it's important to you. And then you want to compel them to act. If they don't do anything with the text, then coming to the Bible study was just a way to get out of the house. So, we hope this has been helpful. We hope these help you think through ways to get to applications, not for your own lessons only, but for your own life. General, implication, personal application, and decisive action. God bless. Thanks for being teachers.